I was 9 years old. I remember seeing a beautiful woman teaching Haitian dance on TV in my country of Haiti. And my father was, "What you watching?" I'm like, "I'm watching dance because this woman was teaching a lot of movement." But her voice was very strange because she wasn't speaking my language well. Because I felt like she had a heavy accent. And long to know that she was African American who came to Haiti. Her name was Lavinia Williams, and she was teaching Haitian dance. And to me, that was so impressive to hear the drums, to see her body moving. I was like completely taken by her. But my father came every time and shut off the TV. And I was like, "Boo." And my father said to me, "No, I don't want you to dance. You are a boy. You should be going to martial arts." Myself, going to martial arts? Will never. Somehow years passed, and I went to school. I was in school in Haiti, and I grew up pretty much that time. I think I had my second brother who came after me, and my mother. We were living very nicely. We used to go to school. There were no kind of chaos happening in Haiti that time. Haiti was really a country I could say that I was breathing in it. So at the age of 12 or 13, I remember I went to school and they offered a scholarship for a ballet school in Haiti. So I was the only boy in the class who raised my hand and said, "Oh, yeah, I want to take this scholarship." And all the boys look at me like, "Are you crazy? Think you're going to go to dance class and wearing tights?" But to me, one thing I can tell you, since I was a baby, my mother and my dad always let me understand that I can do whatever I want. But I was limited by them because they did not want me to dance, but they really wanted me to always stay strong to whatever I want to do. So do not let any other kids intimidate me for any reason. So I went to the dance school and I was the only boy, and all the girls, I think in the school, I think 10 of them went, but they only select three of us. And it was me and two other girls that they gave us a scholarship to. But my dad never knew about that. I think my mother already left Haiti because we're starting to have unrest from the Duvalier, who left Haiti. But my father was completely adamant about me not dancing because every time he saw me coming after school, because school was ended by 1:30, but by 3 o'clock, that's the time I'm always coming back home, or by 4 o'clock. So he was always asking, "Where did you go?" And I'm like, "Oh, I went to volleyball practice." So I always have my volleyball clothes in my bag, but I never play volleyball. I really love volleyball. I wish I practiced, but I never played volleyball. So I told my father, "Oh, I was just playing ball. I was just playing volleyball." And he was like, "Okay." But one day, I think he sent an uncle of mine to pay attention to what I was doing in the street. So that uncle followed me after school, and they ended up seeing that I was dancing at the ballet school. So my uncle waited for me in front of the school, and he said, "Let's go. Your dad is waiting for you." So we went home. My dad was very upset, and I was very disciplined. And he said, "I hope that you never showed up to that school again." That was a Monday. So on Wednesday, I picked up my clothes again and I went back to school and started dancing again because I felt like I could not stop dancing because I felt like it was in me. Since the first day that I saw Lavinia Williams on that TV when I was 9 years old, I felt completely connected. And I felt like I wanted to learn whatever she was teaching. I wanted to be it also. But on January 11, 1991, I ended up waking up with my dad. That morning, my dad completely have all of us sleeping in the same bed with him. That time I had two brothers. So we slept with my dad, woke up, and suddenly the country was completely black with fumes, with tire burning, with a lot of unrest happening. So my dad said, "Wait for me. I'm going to go out to see what's going on. So I'm coming back right away." So maybe 20 minutes later, we heard a friend of mine said, "Oh, you need to do something because they're killing your dad in the street." To me, I couldn't understand. I couldn't really gather what he was telling me because I'm like, my dad just was alive a minute ago, and now he's telling me that my dad is getting killed. He's like, "Yeah, you need to do something because your dad, get ready because they're coming back, for your house." So my grandmother gathered all of us, me and my brothers, and start putting things that we need, papers that we really need together. And 17 minutes later, I saw a group of people coming in with machetes, with my father's body parts, because my father was already killed. and burn. So when they were coming to the house, they suddenly transfer us to another house next door so we can really be safe and also watching what these people were doing. To me, that traumatic experience was very, very savage. And knowing that, how loving my dad was, to see that these people didn't even know who my dad was and end up killing him like this was tragic to me and my family. But after my father's killing, we went on hiding for like 6 months. I was completely numb. I didn't have no feelings. I didn't have no way of thinking. But after the hiding, we went back to our home in the capital, and I said, let me go back to dance school because I wanted to continue dancing. But now I was at a traditional folkloric dance school where I had a teacher of mine, Viviane Gauthier, rest her soul, who was very adamant about education, but she was really understanding of what I went through. And she was like a mother figure for me. So she asked me, what do you want to do with your dad experience? I didn't know what to answer her. I said, my dad is already dead, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to try to live my life the way I can, but I don't know what I'm going to do. But she was really stressing me to understand that I can use dance and the music that I'm listening to as a way of healing myself. Because she knows that in Haiti, there were no therapists, there were no center that I can go to find help. So she told me that use dance. The thing that you are doing, you can really save a lot of lives with it. I listened to her, and we left Haiti maybe a year and a half after that. So we came to live with my mother here in Boston. As soon as I landed in Boston, I thought I was in paradise. But a few days later, I really understood that, it wasn't paradise the way they said it, because came to Boston, I've seen some trash a little bit in the street, not like Haiti, because here you find a lot of order. In Haiti, there were no order at all because there were trash all over the place. People were killing people all over the place. But Boston, for me, I felt like it was a place where Haiti used to be, but still with its own problem. And when I was watching TV also to other cities in New York or other places where people were being killed, so to me, I felt like, okay, this is not the peace that I was looking for. But I feel safe because I was with my mom and I was with my two brothers. After that, we went back to dancing because right next to my house in Cambridge, there were the dance complex. And to me, that was really my answer because I was asking God, please let me arrive in America, but let me find a place to dance. And for real, like the dance studio was right behind of my house. But my mother was like, if you go to that place anytime, I will definitely send you back to Haiti. She told me that on Monday. On a Wednesday again, I went back to the dance complex and started dancing. So for me, I feel like dance was part of me. I had to really plead with my mother, and having teachers coming from my high school where I went to, Cambridge Engine Latin, come and speak with my mother to tell my mother how important it is for me to dance. I ended up having a scholarship to go to Joffrey. I ended up touring the world. I ended up going to Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. And really my life become very complete with my training, but also with my experience. And that's just why I was able to go back to Haiti to give back to my community in Haiti, but also to even here in America, coming back to Boston to teach dance at the Boston Ballet, to teach at the dance complex, to have my own dance company. For me, I feel like dance really instilled in me so much good and so much healing. And through COVID now happening, I feel like it is another tragedy, it is another trauma, but with everything that I've been through in Haiti and everything that I've been through in my years, I felt like I could definitely overcome that. Because through COVID, we're still teaching online, we're still teaching with distance, we're still teaching with our mask on, we're still teaching with our community, and we're still being one with the community. So I feel like dance gave me a voice, gave me a power, and gave me a healing that no other institution could give me. So for that, I really encourage my community. I really encourage, myself to continue to focus on how I can be more in tune with myself, in tune with the world, and in tune with my community that I truly love. So for that, I say thank you to dance, and I say thank you to the world.
You can imagine the threat that Haiti imposed upon America since 1803. There was nothing that American imperialism, one other thing I must tell you, From this period, 1803, Haiti fought every major European power, the Americans, the French, the Spanish, the Germans, the Portuguese, all of them, trying to bring Haiti down, and not one of them could make Haiti renege on her democratic principles. On that country, there would never be on that territory a slave. Every man, every woman was free. You just make it to Haiti and you're free, no slavery. Everywhere else, there was slavery. Everywhere else. In the great America, they were, but let's not talk about that. So anyway, you can imagine the threat that Haiti posed. American imperialism, all of its life, had only one objective, to bring those slaves back into the plantation. There was only one objective, bring those slaves back to the plantation. And America, France, all of them could not bring Haiti back to the plantation. Even after slavery was made illegal throughout the Western Hemisphere and was even abandoned and emancipation proclamations were read everywhere, Haiti continued to be the guiding inspiration for Africans throughout the Western Hemisphere.
Lunchtime is my favorite part of the workday. I wait anxiously for 12 o'clock. My coworkers wait for me so that we can go down to the cafeteria together. The food is always free, paid for by the company Johnson & Johnson. And it's always Mexican food, of course, because we're in Mexico. We wait in line, engineers, operators. It doesn't matter. With the tray in our hands, we're all the same, just people waiting to be served. Everybody's laughing and talking. Somebody says a joke, and I have to stop eating because I'm laughing so hard. Is it true that you went to MIT? Yes. Well, was it hard? Is usually the next question. Yeah, it was pretty hard. And what are you doing here in Mexico? I was born in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua. My parents brought me to the US when I was little because it would provide me with better opportunities. I did well in school. I learned English. I like science and math. And when I turned 17, I was admitted to MIT. I didn't know where it was. I didn't know about Boston or Cambridge. For the first time, I felt that cold wind that burns your face, and I saw piles and piles of snow. The people were cold too, and a bit rude and mean. The first semester, I failed chemistry. I had never failed anything. I went to one of those benches that lined the Charles River and sat down, wanting to be alone and feeling sorry for myself. People deal with adversity in different ways, and my way was to look for love. So I went online, and that's where I found her. 2 years later, we were married. My parents said that was not a good idea because I still had not graduated. But try telling that to a young person in love. How lucky I was to have found her. Through her encouragement and support, even in those nights that I couldn't sleep, I was able to graduate. And then we wanted to start a family. But living thousands of miles away from parents and relatives would be difficult at best. So we rented a U-Haul, we packed our stuff, and we towed our crappy blue Ford Tempo across the US. 3 days later, we were back in Mexico, but I still didn't have a job. So this time I went on mechanicalengineering.com, and there I found a headhunter. I thought Johnson & Johnson only made baby powder. It turns out they also manufacture medical devices. So I was hired, and we started a family. And I wish I could say that's the end of the story. 8 years later, we're sitting at the lunch table, but the conversation has changed. We're hearing reports of an increase in violence across the city. Dead bodies are being found, some days 3, some days 10 or more. At night, we hear gunshots, and people have to hide under the bed or in the closet and wait for it to be over. My wife works at a local TV station. She sees the raw, unedited footage of the decapitations and other gruesome scenes, too graphic to show on the 5 o'clock news. We have become political analysts. Some say that it's a turf war between the Juarez and the Sinaloa drug trade organizations. Some say that it's a shift in the Mexican administration policies. The truth is, nobody knows. No one knows why it started, when it will stop, or if it'll keep going forever. At home, my wife and I discuss options. We sit at the kitchen table. Some of my friends are deciding to leave the city, and some are deciding to leave Mexico altogether. But where would I go, and where would I work? The company has hired ex-FBI agents to act as consultants. They say that we are being watched and being followed. They say that we should be unpredictable. Try not to take the same roads every day. Try not to leave and arrive at work at the same time every day. Always check your rearview mirror to see if you're being followed. If you do suspect you're being followed, whatever you do, do not call the police. They're probably in on it. And if you're caught in a gun battle, stay as low to the ground as possible. That's your best chance for survival. In the morning, I'm driving to work, and just as I'm about to get there, the cars in front of me began to stop. Only moments earlier, there had been a gunfight, and the cars are still blocking the road with the dead bodies inside. Now the conversation at the kitchen table is more serious. It's winter time, and it's dark by the time I get home. The kids are still in school, so now would not be a good time to move them. But they're young, so if we are going to leave the city, we shouldn't wait much longer. The tone at work is now very somber. I was just informed that one of my friends, an engineer, has been killed. He was driving a black pickup truck, and it was the same make and model as the one that the bad guys were looking for. I'm glad I drive a white Prius. Now it's a race against time. I'm sending my resume. I need to find a job, and I need to stay safe in the meantime. I'm happy to say that in 2010, I was hired by a company in Boston. I moved my family here, and now we're safe. I could have gone anywhere in the US, but I chose Boston. I don't mind the cold. I think the snow is pretty, and the people are actually very kind and generous. Last year, I went back to Mexico to visit relatives and to attend my niece's quinceañera. On our way back, driving down a desert road, again, the cars begin to slow down. I move over to the left lane, and as I pass, I see 3 bodies face down on the pavement. The news the next day reported 3 men gunned down on their way back from Chihuahua. I still think of my friends, the ones that remain in Mexico, the ones that don't have the option of leaving, and the ones that have lost their lives. I'm one of the fortunate ones. but not because of my hard work and dedication. I think that perseverance is only half the story. The other half is just plain luck.